Why throw in with me? Is there anything particularly special about me that I ought to be given this bit of attention? For one, I think my perspective is unique because of the way I had led my life. You see, I was quite obsessed with wanting to know about things. For me, knowledge and the pursuit of it was its own reward. Maybe this, social media, blogging, etc., requires some immodesty from me again. Social media is often narcissistic in the promotion of self anyway, but such a way of being is unnatural for me. I grew up before all of this was a thing. For example, my music collection was vinyl and cassettes, and later CDs. It was never digital MP3 files. But whatever. I will tell you that I was a voracious reader, and only rarely was it of fiction. Rather, I sought out ideas. Not that fiction does not have ideas. I just like the raw source and vast perspective of ideas about the independent nature of things in life. Few things in my life of the past excited me quite so much as my free time and the chance to sit and make notes from whatever book I was digesting. And I retained a good deal of what I had learned from my own researchings. I did go to university and did get a BA, but I've gone way past the limits of thinking about my chosen discipline of political science. My perspective is not entirely derived from my pursuits of knowledge either. I have also something of a unique view from my straddling of worlds. For while I was immersed in a farming lifestyle and the rhythms of the seasons and demands of needs of animals, which is rather a unique rural experience that is rare in our mostly urban reality, I have also interacted with people living a fully urban existence. In fact, I have lived in an urban setting for most of my adult life and simply commuted daily to the farm and the farm business. Add to this the study of Tai Chi martial art, and you may agree that I have quite a breadth of perspective. Tai Chi is an interesting art in and of itself because it nicely complements the more academic pursuit of knowledge. The art is highly introspective. It is a path to self-knowledge. Recall Socrates. If you had viewed episode 3, I made reference there to his seeming indictment against a compliant and unquestioned existence. He said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." It may sound harsh, Socrates' words, yet we may not know just how harsh it is until we are tested. Live life a while and chances are you will be tested. I am middle-aged, and so you can assume I have had my share of ups and downs. The greatest down in my life was following the death of my mother, as we lost her all too soon at the age of 65 to cancer. Her loss closely followed on the heels of my daughter's birth. They shared this world for just 11 days. That time in my life split me. How can joy and sorrow exist simultaneously in a person? The grief that should be felt and dealt with in its own good time when you lose a person who was the most important to you emotionally and to who you were born from, well, to lose that person is to lose so much of your world. At the same time, there was all the responsibilities to a new life with my daughter. Being a parent for the first time is itself a mix of uncertainty and joy. Luckily, I had my partner and her experience to get me through it. My daughter would owe her mother much, too, though as of yet, she is too young to know. For the truth is, I faltered in my split mental state. In hindsight, perhaps it was all too much. For a time, I needed therapy as I dealt with depression. I do not wish to belabor this, but the events of the last few years did mark me and did make me question anew so many things. Perhaps the vantage point of depression is itself eye-opening, for I now think that so much of social conformity and our many varied distractions keep us from seeing the often frightening truths in the world around us. It is as though, with the mere hint of the wide-open view of the truth that we might chance upon or intuitively understand, we start to feel a knot of anxiety, and we don't like it. And so we find anything to alleviate that feeling and turn away. I could not turn away, even if I wanted to. The death of my mother was exceedingly difficult as we, the family, sat vigil in the hospital over the late fall months of 2012 into the winter of 2013. It took me to a place of anguish inside myself, but because I was forced into this place, I also had to eventually confront myself and also the external dark realities of the world we live in, and that my daughter and her generation will inherit. I have a strong conviction that as unpleasant an experience as grief and depression is, with having some distance now, and having some clarity about things, including insights into myself and a long-term life experiment that I had been living with in a quiet monastic practice, combined with pursuits of knowledge and above all the motivation of my child's life and what I owe to her as a parent, that is to say, that she deserves my very best. And so, on reflection, a thing that can be done when pain has subsided, it has been an odd and interesting confluence of life events. The themes of life's most profound narratives are all there, or here. They include birth, death, the fall into despair, and a rebirth, and also a reimagining of self. It contains a turn away from the dark towards the light again, and in that light I found myself embraced and bracketed by my past and by my future, by the love of a mother and a daughter. Those two loves were so unconditional and so complete. How could I not be compelled? I am of them and they are of me. Is there not in this story that has the semblance of familiarity to us all? It is in the feeling itself that there is power, in the empathy of pain and love. It is in this that we ought to pause. For where we do so in recognition, we are able to come together, to lay down the hurts and to dwell in the enlightening embrace, one to another, and in our encounters each day, and even to a little extent across the electrified matrix within which we find ourselves so much of the time. And what could we do with this? Shall we go and see?